I was sitting at the defense table in my own courtroom, listening to the two people who abandoned me at age 5 laugh with their lawyer. They were already planning how to spend the $5. $5 million they thought they were about to steal. They didn't recognize me. Then the bailiff's voice boomed. All rise for the Honorable Judge Samantha Hart. Kevin and Karen, my biological parents, stood up. I stood with them, and then I walked past them, climbed the steps, and took my seat behind the bench. Their smiles died instantly, because the daughter they legally declared dead for a $450,000 payout in 1995 was now the judge presiding over their case. If you've ever been thrown away, underestimated, or treated like you didn't matter, this story is for you. Hit subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Guilty or innocent? Would you give parents like this a second chance, or destroy them? Let's get into it. O'Hare Airport in 1994 was a metallic jungle, buzzing belts, echoing announcements, and the smell of stale coffee. I was 5, wrapped in a red wool scarf that scratched my neck. I refused to take it off because it was the only thing between me and the cold, and the only thing that felt like mine. Kevin and Karen walked ahead of me, not holding my hand, not guiding me, just irritated that a child slowed them down. They didn't look like parents about to lose a daughter. They looked like two people with somewhere more important to be. They led me all the way to oversized baggage claim, a place for golf clubs and strollers, not children. Kevin pointed at a metal bench.
Seat.
Watch the bags. We're getting the tickets. Don't move. How long? I whispered.
Karen didn't look at me.
Count 500 bags. By the time you finish, we'll be back. I did as I was told. I counted skis, busted cardboard boxes, suitcases with broken zippers. By the time I hit 500, the carousel had stopped. The passengers were gone, and so were my parents. The silence that followed didn't feel peaceful. It felt like a verdict. Even at 5, I knew they weren't coming back. That silence is what stole my voice for 4 years. Before airport security could intervene, a man in a gray suit approached.
White-rimmed glasses.
Kind eyes. My name is William, he said softly. I saw them leave. I'm so sorry. He didn't sugarcoat. He didn't lie. He stayed with me through the police report, through foster placement, through the adoption process. In time, he became Dad. A quiet, steady man who taught me silence isn't weakness. Silence can be power. When William died decades later, I expected a modest will. Instead, the lawyer handed me a portfolio. William had been an angel investor quietly backing tech startups in the 90s. His estate totaled $5. $5 million. All left to me. When the local news picked up the story, they found me, not with a call, not with an apology, with a lawsuit. Kevin and Karen claimed William kidnapped me. They'd spent 30 years searching. They deserved the full $5. 5M. It was laughable, but I didn't laugh. I went judge mode. If they were greedy enough to sue me now, they were greedy enough to have tried to profit off me then. So I hired the most ruthless forensic accountant in Chicago. Go back to 1994. Find everything.
She did.
In the Cook County archives, buried in microfiche. Kevin and Karen Hart v. American Continental Airlines, 1995. They sued the airline claiming they'd entrusted me to an airline agent. The airline lost me. They suffered emotional devastation. A masterpiece of lies. And the airline settled $450,000. But the settlement came with a sworn affidavit. They signed their names under the statement. We acknowledge that the minor child, Samantha Hart, is presumed deceased. My parents declared me dead, sold me for less than $500,000, spent it, and now they were back to sell me again. That was the moment something inside me crystallized, not rage, not sorrow, something colder. Purpose. You already know how the day started. Me at the defense table. Them laughing. They didn't recognize me because people like them don't remember what their burdens look like. But when I took the bench, their faces drained of blood. Their lawyer stuttered. Karen's jaw dropped. Kevin blinked like he was seeing a ghost.
And in a way, he was.
I didn't flinch. I didn't speak. I let silence sit on the room like a weight. The same silence they once used to erase me. They testified like Oscar contenders. Karen cried on cue. Kevin talked about the agonizing decades without their beloved daughter. They painted themselves as saints, victims, martyrs. I listened without a single objection. Let them build their fake monument. The higher it stood, the harder it would fall. When my attorney stood, he didn't call experts. He didn't call character witnesses. He called. The defense calls Megan Hart, their other daughter. The heir left the room. Megan walked in, 28 years old, a social worker with exhausted eyes. She didn't look at them. She looked at me. We shared a face, but not a past. She took the stand. Growing up in the Hart household, she said, was like living in a mausoleum. I wasn't their daughter, she said. I was the replacement. They used Samantha's disappearance like a fundraising campaign. Every tragedy had a dollar amount. They never searched for her. They milked her absence. Karen exploded. Megan, how dare you? Sit down, the bailiff barked. Megan reached into a tote bag and produced a shoebox. Not filled with missing person flyers.
Casino receipts.
From the week I disappeared. They weren't searching. They were celebrating. I watched my parents' faces collapse. Then my lawyer approached the judge and placed one single document before her. The 1995 settlement affidavit. The judge's voice cut like a blade. Mr. and Mrs.
Hart?
You declared your daughter deceased to obtain $450,000. So either you committed fraud in 1995, or you are committing fraud today. Checkmate. Their lawyer stepped away as if distancing himself from a burning building. For the first time in the entire trial, I stood. Not as a judge.
As the child they sold.
You didn't just abandon me, I said. You liquidated me. You put a price tag on my life, twice. Karen sobbed. Samantha, please. You declared me dead, I said, so you could buy a boat. The daughter you had died in Terminal 3. I stepped closer. But ghosts can haunt you. And I promise you, I will haunt you through every legal avenue until you regret ever walking back into my life. Silence fell across the courtroom like a gavel made of stone. Then the judge's actual gavel slammed. Case dismissed with prejudice. Bailiff, take the plaintiffs into custody. Kevin and Karen were handcuffed screaming. I didn't look back.
Just as they once did to me.
The statute of limitations complicated the old airline settlement, but the perjury in my courtroom was fresh. They were indicted 3 weeks later. Their community turned on them. The church cut them off. Neighbors demanded answers. They lost everything. A fitting consequence for people who treated children like ATM cards. As for me, I didn't keep the $5. $5 million. William didn't raise me to hoard wealth. He raised me to break cycles. So, I used the money to launch the Baggage Claim Foundation, legal defense, and support for foster youth aging out of the system. No kid should ever sit on a cold bench wondering if they matter. Megan quit her job and became our lead social worker. One day, months later, we were sitting in a Chicago cafe. She laughed at something I said, really laughed. The kind of laugh that comes after freedom. As I reached for my coffee, my sleeve slid up, revealing the red wool scarf. Not a shield anymore, just a scarf. The noise of the cafe faded under a blanket of peaceful silence. The kind that comes after justice. The kind that comes after a debt finally paid in full. Some people think family is determined by blood. They're wrong. Family is determined by who shows up, who protects you, who chooses you. And sometimes, the most powerful revenge is building a life that proves they never broke you. If this story hit you in the gut, tap like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Would you forgive parents who sold you? Or would you give them the justice they earned? Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay strong, and don't let anyone decide your worth.